As someone on the autism spectrum, I generally tend to have issues when it comes to social interactions, and this certainly didn't help when I had to interact with customers and coworkers at my old jobs. The first job I ever had was at a fast food restaurant, pouring drinks for drive-thru orders. I didn't have to interact with customers much, but I did have to interact with my coworkers. There was this one girl who, I swear, thought I was just a straight-up idiot. Despite the simplicity of the job, I would often have trouble keeping up with orders because of how fast-paced and overstimulating it would often get. And that led to moments with this girl that usually went something like, "Hey, he ordered a Coke, not a Sprite. Pay attention once in a while. Hey, that was supposed to be a large, not a small. What's wrong with you? Hey, that guy ordered 3 Powerades, not 2, you idiot." It got so bad to the point where my other coworkers would start to get bothered. "Hey, this lady ordered 3 large Fantas 15 minutes ago. Are you stupid or something?" Jeez, dude, calm down. My next job was at a pizza place. This one consisted largely of actually making the pizzas, not selling them, so again, I didn't have to interact with customers very often. But interacting with coworkers could still often be a chore. So, yet again, the job could get overstimulating at times, and I would often make mistakes that to an uninformed outsider would make me appear airheaded or just flat out stupid. And yet again, I had one coworker in particular who just so happened to be a particularly uninformed outsider. "Hey, what are you, dumb? That was supposed to have pepperoni on it, not sausage. Hey, that order was supposed to come with crazy bread. What's wrong with your brain?" I think you get the idea. But there was one other coworker whose interactions with me were odd. I couldn't tell if he was trying to be mean or just lightheartedly poking fun at me or what, but for some reason, whenever we would have to work together, he would always say stuff like, "Hey, John Carl, you hitting the club after work? Hey, John Carl, I'll bet a cool guy like you has all the girls lining up just to get some, huh? Hey, John Carl, can I get a ride home in your Ferrari?" And I would never quite know how to respond. I would always kind of just go, "Oh." I imagine the reason he said stuff like that is because of how ridiculously nerdy I was compared to everyone else there, and therefore the least likely out of all of them to hit the club after work, or own a Ferrari, or get tons of girls, or what have you. But I still couldn't ever quite tell what his intentions were, and that was made all the more confusing when one time a manager chimed in and said, "Come on, man, leave him alone." Like, it kind of felt like she was sticking up for me, but she was also laughing, so maybe she was, like, sarcastically joining in or something? I don't know. Anyway, my next job was at a movie theater. My duties there were taking tickets and working the concession stand, so this one was a lot heavier on customer interaction. That's not to say my interactions with my coworkers and managers were always pleasant, mind you. This job was probably the most overwhelming out of all of them, especially on Friday nights when a new blockbuster had just opened, and I wasn't always the best at comprehending and retaining all of the directions I was given. And it especially didn't help that many of them were given via a wireless radio system. "Hey, after we close down for the night, I'm gonna need you to sweep and mop the lobby, take out all the trash cans, clean all the soda fountains and popcorn machines, and help deep clean theaters 1 through 7. You got it?" Wait, what? Sorry, what am I doing again? What do I do after we close? "What's wrong with you, man? I just told you." So slow. And then there were the dreaded customer interactions. The worst among them were when I either said something too bluntly or forgot to make my tone of voice more animated and therefore came across as rude or snarky when I didn't mean it that way. I remember one time when I was taking tickets and a woman came up to me and fumbled through her purse for a few seconds. I figured she was probably looking for her ticket, but I wanted to make sure, so all I said was, I kid you not, "Hello, ma'am, do you have a ticket?" And then she says, quite angrily I might add, Yeah, I have a ticket." I was a little confused. I asked her if she was okay, and then she said, "Well, I was until you started giving me attitude." Honestly, I was shocked. All I had meant to do was to just straightforwardly ask her a question, but I guess that because I was either being too blunt or because I forgot to make myself sound more animated and force a smile, I sounded like I was being sarcastic and making fun of her for taking too long to get her ticket or something. Honestly, I felt awful. I wasn't even sure what to say. Eventually, I kinda just went, "Sorry." But it all came to a climax one day when I was working at the concession stand. It was extremely busy that day, and I had many orders to juggle. I was already overwhelmed when one lady, whose order I had soon realized I had just forgotten amidst all the others, came up to the counter and started yelling at me. At that point, I just snapped. Will everyone just please give me some f***ing space? That was my last day at that job. Not because I was fired, mind you, but because the theater was going out of business. So I guess that timing worked out. Now, none of this is to say that all of my job experiences have been bad. At my next job, I was able to chat with my manager about being on the spectrum, and she was able to assign me to tasks that fit my skill set much better. And in the end, I think that's what matters most when it comes to helping autistic people in the workplace. Figuring out their strengths and weaknesses, and being able to work around them to make sure they get the most out of their job.
As someone on the autism spectrum, I tend to have trouble maintaining a job. One job I used to have was at a department store in a mall from 2014 to 2016. Some of my duties included stocking shelves and bringing in new items from the cargo area. Eventually, I was reassigned to doing night shifts in the cargo room, where I used to help unload the new inventory from cargo trucks. They had me work some very late shifts that sometimes went against the availability schedule that I gave them when I first applied for the job.
Hey, you can't leave until this truck is emptied.
But I told you guys I can't work past midnight.
I don't care. Just empty out the cargo hold and have the inventory ready by morning.
Sometimes I had to spend virtually all night removing boxes from a cargo truck, opening them, sorting them by brand and product, and placing them in their proper departments. Things got worse a couple months later when the store acquired 2 more cargo trucks, which of course meant more time needed to be spent emptying them out. This often meant that I'd be called in to help with this unexpectedly, even at the most inopportune times.
Hey, we need you to come in tonight, and tomorrow night afterwards, and the night after that, and that.
I don't know if I can.
Thanks. Bye.
As 2015 wore on, the night shifts got longer and longer. Sometimes I wasn't allowed to leave until long after the sun rose. Sleep became non existent for me, and once 2016 came around, I eventually decided to call it quits. In 2017, I applied for a job as a videographer for a company that make videos for high school sports games.
Okay, I want you to head over to that location by Saturday morning. Your team leader will hand over your equipment for you to film the games, and when they're over, return the equipment over to him, and you can call it a day.
Given how far away some of those games could be, I ended up spending more money on gas than I actually made. Plus, they often have me shoot outdoors for several hours at a time, even when the weather was awful. And then there was the time a football coach yelled at me for getting too close to the game.
Hey, what are you doing here? Get to the back this instant.
But sir, I'm supposed to be shooting a close-up for...
Just take your tripod and camera to the back and film from there. Now!
When I told my boss about this, he ended up in a heated shouting match with the coach. It was nice of him to stand up for me like that, but still, I found out that I didn't work well in high-pressure situations like that. After all of these experiences, I admit I was almost convinced that I could never enjoy my work no matter what. Thankfully, that turned out not to be the case. After I left the company, I found another video production job, this time run by someone who could relate to my experiences and was much more accommodating. And I think that just goes to show you that autistic people can succeed in our work just like everyone else. All it takes is for someone to take a chance on us, and with enough patience and guidance, not only can we be good at our jobs, we can truly thrive in the workplace.